Hello and welcome to the studio. Today we're going to be taking a look at my lighting setup, and I'm going to share with you why I think cinematic lighting is overrated. My name is Cree, and on this channel I talk about tech with context. If you're interested in learning more about how I use tech for video production, then consider subscribing. Today we're going to take a look at lighting. Now, it isn't always the most exciting topic, but I do get a lot of comments and questions from you about the lighting setup that I use, and also questions about why my videos look nice and crisp and clean. And today I'll share with you part of that equation, and that is lighting. And to the original point, I think that cinematic lighting is overrated. So why is cinematic lighting overrated? Well, I own a video production company, and if I were to set up cinematic lighting for a client, they would hate it. If you look at the lighting I have set up right now, I have a softbox right here. It's just off camera, and it's casting a shadow across my face, and it's making me, to many people, look maybe older. You can see wrinkles, you can see flaws. And what lighting does is it can make someone look good, but it can also make someone look maybe not like themselves, not like they want to see themselves. So in that case, the types of videos that I'm recording are interviews, podcasts, live streams. I'm doing a lot of A-roll for clients. I'm doing social media stuff. And 99% of the time, that requires nice, bright lighting. That's what I have here in the studio. And that's why I think cinematic lighting is overrated. And with that said, what we'll do now is we're going to move over to the DJI Pocket 3. I'm going to give you a little tour of my lighting setup here in the office so that you can see how I set up my lighting to make everybody look nice and bright. So this is the key light I was just referring to when I was talking about those shadows that are coming across my face, and it's a dome light. So let's go ahead and bring these out. We'll go over here to this part of the studio. And this right here is the lighting setup that I'm using. So it is a Godox UL60 light. It's just a daylight light. That's all I'm using. I use the Godox light because there's no fan noise on these lights. It's 60 watts. I know it's not the brightest light out there, but it's all I need here in the studio. I'm using this Aperture light dome. And again, I want to be able to just point this light and light everything up. And I'll show you how I use these lights here in a moment. I also have everything on wheels. So I have this light stand on wheels. I'll put the links to all these products down in the description below. But what I do in this case, so let's go back over here. I have a table set up, and in this case, we have a person that's probably going to be sitting there and doing an A-roll. We can do interviews in this space as well. But what I do with this light over here is I'll put it to the side, move the cord here. I'll put it to the side, and I'm just going to point this light upwards into the corner of the room, and I'm going to turn this up. So what I'm looking for is I want to reduce shadows in the background. I have lamps and I have other different types of background items here. And when I designed the studio, I created a white ceiling and white walls. So what I'm also doing is I'm bouncing this light off of all of the white areas of the room, and it's going to backfill the person. You are noticing over here, I also don't have hair lights in this room. And the reason why is because I'm taking advantage of the white wall in this room, a bright light, and I'm bouncing light behind the person, and it's acting kind of as a pseudo hair light. It fills that background behind them. And for me, I think it does help separate the person from the background pretty well in this case. And so that's how I'm using this light. All right, so this is how I set up the key light. I have this light shining behind and up to light up the background and light up the room behind the person. And then this one I'm using as a key light. So this is right in front of the person's face so that you can see them nice and brightly. I have it shining all over their face. I don't have it to one side. I try to place it as front and center as possible, because when I light them up, all those shadows disappear, the wrinkles disappear. I can control the color of the person based on, you know, whatever settings I'm using in my camera, or however I color grade that footage. But either way, people like that look of something being nice and crisp and clean, and I get a lot of compliments because I set my lighting up this way. All right, I am going to revisit hair lights. Now, I could set up a hair light in the corner and light someone. I could certainly do that, but what I do here in the studio is I have created layers with my backdrop, and that has actually helped separate the person from the background. So remember, I'm lighting the person and the space behind them. That's acting kind of as a hair light. It's reflecting on them, but also I have a practical light behind me here, and I have the table pulled back as far away from the wall as possible. And then the other trick that I use to create separation between the person and the backdrop is to use a lens with a low aperture. So in this case, I'm using the 24mm f1.4 lens from Sony. So I have it set at f1.4 right now. It's giving me that nice blurry background. I can go all the way up to 2.8, but I can get away with this because I've pulled this table back away from the wall, and the way that I have the lighting set up, it's lighting everything up, and I don't know, I get a lot of compliments. What do you think about the lighting that I have set up here in the studio? So here's the other thing about cinematic lighting versus lighting like this that I have here in the studio. Whether I'm recording here or I'm out and about, having just a couple of lights with me and being able to manipulate that lighting in a way that's going to work for the type of work that I do, this works for me. You know, there's hundreds of different ways to do lighting and do video production, but this is what works for the type of work and videos that I work on. Now, cinematic lighting, the other aspect is if you want to set up a scene like that, it's going to take more time, it's going to take more equipment, and because of those two things alone, it's going to cost more. So if you are somebody who is interested in or does work in the video production space, the more equipment you have, the more time it takes to set up, you're going to need more people. And for me, you know, I would miss out on a lot of work just because of the cost and the time that it takes to set up some sort of a cinematic lighting scene. So in a nutshell, that's why I think cinematic lighting is overrated, why I don't use it in a majority of my workflows. I'd like to hear from you though. Are you using cinematic lighting? And if so, how are you making it affordable enough to incorporate in your workflow? Let me know in the comments below. And before you leave, don't forget to subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. Thanks as always for tuning in, and I'll see you again in next week's video.